we can go right ahead and get into the second segment. Actually, before I get into this second segment, I have an interesting question for all of you guys in the comments. Let me know if you were able to get free front row seats to any kind of sporting event, which would it be? Now, it could be, a Game 7, it could be the Super Bowl, it could be a World Cup, Olympic game, Final Four, WNBA finals, college finals, like for women's Final Four, World Series, Stanley Cup, um, the college football playoffs, and college football finals. Which one would you like to go see? Me personally, I would like to get front row tickets and front row seats to the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl is going to be between some random AFC team and my New York Giants. I am totally kidding, by the way. That is not what the Super Bowl is going to be. It's probably going to be some random AFC team along with a random NFC team. I have no idea who's going to make the Super Bowl. If you guys want to listen more on about football, and we do have a podcast on literally specifically on fantasy football as well as football in general, and one of the one of the hosts for the host for the football podcast is Kenneth, so I definitely go recommend watching the football podcast on your free time whenever you guys have it. But for this segment, let's go ahead and break this down. So the Pacers, they had like I've said before in the previous segment, they finished the season and the postseason with a little bit of an asterisk on their accomplishments, mainly because the team, they've been playing mostly injured teams. I mean, they played against the Bucks, where the Bucks didn't have Giannis at all, and they didn't have Damian Lillard for half of the series. So that's sort of an asterisk. And then what makes it even worse is that they destroyed the perfect, just fine New York Knicks, and it just ruins their chances, and there's absolutely nothing that they can do about it. And I mean, the Knicks, they mainly went through the playoffs, as well as the Milwaukee Bucks. They went through it injured, and because of these injuries that a lot of these players were sustaining, it caused them to end up being shorthanded come the postseason. Now, Julius Randle, he was always injured, so they didn't even have to worry about playing against him. But then went OG Anunoby, then went Josh Hart, then went Jalen Brunson, and now all of them are hurt. And there is nothing that the Knicks can do about it because they've been eliminated in Game 7. However, despite the fact that they've been playing against some of the most injury-ridden teams that the NBA has seen in a while, it's not like they played horribly in that series. Now, the Pacers, they went on and scored like 70 plus points at the half against the Knicks, which was arguably one of the biggest smackdowns in the entire NBA playoffs that I've ever seen. They also ended up, they smacked the Bucks really badly in the playoffs. They mainly, some of their greatest achievements are actually beating the Knicks in the previous series, despite the fact that the Knicks were the ones that were injured. Now, even though they were injured, they still needed to play very well in order to win out in the series, because the Knicks, they weren't going out without a fight. And the problem is just that, the fight that they put on wasn't really up to par. Like, the Knicks, they played really badly in Game 7. They also played really badly in Game 6. And they played really badly. They played really badly in Game 4 as well. It was just not, overall, it was just not good. And, the fact that they were this close to, the Knicks were so close to beating them, it's kind of sad on the Pacers standpoint, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because they made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. So should they run it back, or should they what should they do? What should be their next step? So I think like with the roster that they have, like the first thing that they have to do is make sure that they have Pascal Siakam locked up and ready for the next season. Like they got to make sure that he is already under the contract and he cannot go and get traded anywhere. He can't do none of that because that would definitely affect the Pacers and their chances. Now, having Tyrese Halliburton, as long as you're able to keep Halliburton and maybe even Pascal, depending on how well he develops, then I feel like you should always have a major shot in the Eastern Conference. Now, I mean, simply just because the team like they made it all the way to the conference finals. So I genuinely think they should just run it back. Like this is a team that has the pieces that they need to stay being successful. They have a competent, as much as I don't like saying this, they have a competent point guard, and he's shown that he has the ability to be consistent whenever the team needs him to be. Keyword, whenever the team needs him to be, because throughout a majority of the season, it didn't really seem like he was doing much, like, offensively or like for to help the team. But towards the end of the season and coming towards the postseason, it seemed like Halliburton really like started to do a lot better. He started to play better. He started like I mean, everything was just working for the team, and there was really nothing that he could do wrong. It seemed like so. With this in mind, I do think that this team is still good enough to just keep running it back, keep competing, because the fact that the Eastern Conference doesn't have a consistent threat every single year, similar to how they had with LeBron, now they don't really have to worry as much as to okay, what do we who do we have to we have to worry about LeBron in the postseason. You will always have to worry about the Celtics. That is going to be the one consistent team that you will always have to worry about. But other than that, there isn't really many other teams that can really pose that big of a threat against your playoff spot or what you've been able to do in the postseason. I mean, again, the only team that can really compete with them is the Celtics and the New York Knicks whenever they're healthy. But I mean, they've shown that they can even like you notice how I don't mention the Bucks, but like I would mention the Bucks. However, that team in the regular season they lost to the Pacers 4 times. So and this was when they were healthy. So I can't really say that the Bucks are guaranteed going to be able to compete against the Pacers in the postseason, given how they played them in the regular season. So that's basically all that I have to say about the Pacers. They just have to run it back with the same team that they had and really just, get ready for the next season because that's going to be that should be one of their stronger years now that they basically have an entire system in place. So, and now that I almost forgot, but they were really, really close to winning game 1 and game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, they came really close. They didn't end up winning, but a lot of their games were really close. And, like, if that's really, like, how you go out, especially when, you don't even have one of your best players on the team for game 3 or 4, that's not a bad way to go out. So, with that, we are out of time for the second segment. So now I will go ahead and go into the third segment where I talk about the crazy money disparities in NBA basketball. So be sure to I'll be right back after this short break. So be sure to stay tuned for more.